sukui-nage. Originally in sukui-nage, you first pushed your opponent back to make him lose balance, then lifted him up and threw him in a backward direction. This technique is not at all seen in recent tournaments. In a tournament, the technique of placing a hand underneath your opponent's thigh and lifting him up is often used. When your opponent tries a harai-goshi, you should pull your foot back to open yourself up for an attack, then put your hand in from behind your opponent to lift him up and throw him down. Similarly, when your opponent comes at you with an morote-gari, then you should again put your hand in from behind and throw. Again, when he attempts an uchimata, you can evade his motion, then putting your hand in from behind, transform it into a sukui-nage. On occasion, you may throw using your hips as you lift your opponent. Another way is to lift your opponent as he tries a hane-goshi, then throw by brushing aside his pivot leg. This time, the opponent is lifted by putting a hand in from the front. When your opponent tries morote-gari, pull your foot back, then as you do so, put your hand in from the front and lift him up. The final of the 1976 All Japan Championships. Sumio Endo wins with a sukui-nage. At the Kobe Universiade competition 65kg finals, Yun of Korea performs a sukui-nage. Obi-otoshi. Obi-otoshi can be considered a kind of sukui-nage. It is one of the techniques of jujutsu, the traditional martial art. Grasp the front part of your opponent's belt. Push him directly back to cause him to lose balance, lift him from the side, and throw him down towards the rear. The principle of obi-otoshi is very much like that of sukui-nage. Obi-otoshi is hardly ever used in modern tournaments, but is one of the techniques used in free exercises of Kodokan Judo. Morote-gari. Morote-gari is often used in a competition. There are different ways of starting morote-gari. In this case, you catch your opponent the moment you come to grapple with him. This is morote-gari, where you first pull your opponent forward. In this case, sukui-nage turns into a morote-gari. When you attempt sukui-nage, your opponent will react by bending backwards. Morote-gari is then performed without a pause. In following on from a sukui-nage, you sometimes make one complete turn, as you can see here. This also is an application of morote-gari. Here you make your opponent fall by grasping one of his feet using both hands. morote-gari performed by Kim Jae-yup of Korea, the 1987 world champion in the 60-kilogram class. Sukui-nage. Sukui-nage is a technique in which you take your opponent's leg and push him down backwards. It's often used in a tournament. You push your opponent down by taking hold of his leg, but sometimes it's executed from the inside as well as from the outside. In sukui-nage, you may simply grasp the other's leg, or you may change it into either from your own or your opponent's technique. Here you turn from sukui-nage and grasp your opponent's leg from inside. This is a follow-on technique starting from kata-guruma. A kata-guruma is attempted, but as your opponent defends himself by shifting his weight backwards, the throw is made by grasping his leg from inside. This time we start with the opponent's morote-gari. When the opponent attacks with morote-gari, defend yourself by opening up, turning sideways. As you do so, catch him from inside his legs to make him fall. Here you down your opponent by catching his leg from outside. When you perform kochi-gari, your opponent counters by raising the foot that's been swept from the side. Grasp his leg from outside at that moment to make him fall. This time, continuing from ochi-gari. The moment your opponent raises his foot to counter the move, you catch his leg from outside to drop him. Look closely at the movement of the right hand. This is not sukui-nage, but sukui-nage. A continuous movement is made from a sukui-nage, and your opponent is made to fall with the right hand on the outside of his leg. Turning your opponent's hizaguruma into this technique. Catching the foot of your opponent as he attempts hizaguruma, push him down with your left hand to make him fall.